In 2018, Royole Technology released the world's first foldable phone, the FlexPai, in Beijing, with a starting price of 8,999 yuan. This device was hailed as the next decade of smartphones, and Royole's valuation skyrocketed to $11 billion overnight. The entire tech supply chain was buzzing with excitement. From upstream panel suppliers like BOE and Visionox, to downstream manufacturers like Foxconn, everyone was discussing the same question. Could foldable screens be the next $100 billion opportunity? But reality told a completely different story. The FlexPai achieved virtually no meaningful sales, and Royole's valuation plummeted from its peak of $11 billion to less than $1 billion today. 6 years have passed, and the entire foldable phone market sells only about 20 million units annually, accounting for less than 2% of the global smartphone market. That's not even half of what Apple's iPhone sells in a single quarter. Meanwhile, tech giants have been increasing their investments year after year. In 2024, major global tech companies invested over $100 billion in foldable screen-related technology research and development, a 300% increase from 3 years earlier. Samsung, Huawei, and Google each invest tens of billions of dollars annually in foldable screen projects. Even the traditionally cautious Apple has been rumored to be launching a foldable iPhone in 2026, with expected R&D investments exceeding $50 billion. Once Apple enters the game, the foldable phone market could explode from its current $200 billion to $2 trillion within 3 years, a tenfold increase. Major investment banks have all listed foldable phones as the next consumer electronics product that will change the world. If foldable phones have performed so poorly in the market, why are the world's smartest tech companies and investment institutions still throwing money at them like crazy? What business logic is hidden behind this seemingly irrational $100 billion gamble? When the FlexPai's screen unfolded and folded back together on stage, no one anticipated that this would become one of the most expensive technology validations in tech history. The FlexPai's failure wasn't just a single product problem. It represented the entire industry's serious misjudgment of technology maturity. Royole Technology, in their rush to claim the world's first title, hurriedly launched their product. While core technologies were still incomplete, the hinges started loosening after just a few days of use. The screen showed obvious creases after hundreds of folds, and the software system was riddled with bugs that frequently prevented apps from displaying properly. Cost control spiraled completely out of hand. The FlexPai's actual production cost exceeded 6,000 yuan. But to compete with Samsung's upcoming Galaxy Fold, Royole was forced to price it at 8,999 yuan, leaving virtually no profit margin. Meanwhile, Samsung's Galaxy Fold had a starting price of 13,000 yuan, and was still considered a loss leader by industry insiders. Samsung's experience better illustrated how serious the problems were. In April 2019, just as the Galaxy Fold began distributing review units to media outlets, disaster struck. Review units from major tech publications experienced screen damage after just 1 to 2 days of use. Sample units developed obvious bright lines across their screens, making them completely unusable. These review reports triggered a massive uproar worldwide. Samsung's stock price dropped 8% within a week, wiping out about $50 billion in market value. Samsung was forced to delay the Galaxy Fold's global launch for a full 4 months. During those 4 months, Samsung invested over $10 billion in product redesign and quality improvements, but market confidence had already been severely damaged. In the first 6 months after the Galaxy Fold's relaunch, global sales reached only about 400,000 units, far below Samsung's initial expectation of 1 million units. During the same period, the iPhone 11 series sold over 37 million units quarterly, creating a stark contrast. The entire industry faced a supply chain domino effect. The technical challenges of foldable screens weren't just about the screens themselves, but about building an entire ecosystem around foldable displays. From special protective film materials to complex hinge mechanical structures, from chips adapted for foldable screens to specially optimized operating systems, every component needed to be redesigned and validated. Samsung's internal team admitted they had underestimated the disruptive impact foldable screens would have on overall product architecture. This wasn't simply about connecting two screens together. It was about redefining what a phone actually is. Just for hinge development alone, Samsung invested over $500 million and tested hundreds of different mechanical structures. The failure of first-generation products was just the beginning. A much larger crisis was brewing. Technical problems can be solved, but once trust is broken, repairing it becomes much more difficult. From 2020 to 2022, the entire foldable phone industry entered an unprecedented low period. Sales data starkly reflected the severity of the problems. Global foldable phone sales were only 3.2 million units in 2020, 7.1 million in 2021, and reached just 14.2 million in 2022. These 3 years were the golden age of rapid smartphone technology iteration. Regular smartphones made significant advances in screens, cameras, chips, and other areas, while foldable phones remained stuck, grappling with basic does-it-even-work issues. Pricing strategy fell into a vicious cycle. To cover massive R&D costs, almost all manufacturers positioned foldable phones as ultra-premium products. Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold series maintained prices in the 12,000 to 15,000 yuan range, while Huawei's Mate X series reached 16,000 to 23,000 yuan. High prices led to poor sales. Poor sales meant costs couldn't be amortized, which drove prices even higher. In 2021, the average selling price of foldable phones was 2.3 times that of regular flagship phones, but user satisfaction was 30% lower than regular flagships. This severe inversion of value and price made foldable phones a rare example of high price, low quality in consumer electronics. Software ecosystem lag became another fatal problem. Although Android began optimizing for foldable screens in 2019, the vast majority of third-party apps never adapted for foldable displays. Users frequently encountered display anomalies and missing functionality when using WeChat, TikTok, Taobao, and other common apps. As of late 2022, fewer than 5% of apps in the Google Play Store were truly optimized for foldable screens. User research data was even more concerning. 65% of foldable phone users reported frequently encountering app compatibility issues, and 47% even said they regretted buying a foldable phone. This negative feedback spread rapidly on social media, creating powerful negative sentiment. Investment institutions began taking a wait-and-see approach. In a 2020 internal report, Sequoia Capital, which focuses on consumer electronics investments, clearly stated, foldable phones remain an overly premature concept, with unclear market demand. Goldman Sachs also downgraded foldable phones' market outlook from buy to hold in 2021, citing technology maturity and market acceptance both below expectations. Apple CEO Tim Cook's statement in a 2021 interview was particularly significant. As an industry bellwether, we're watching foldable screen technology, but current technology isn't sufficient to provide the Apple standard of user experience. This comment was interpreted by the industry as Apple's skepticism toward foldable screen technology, further intensifying market pessimism. Supply chain companies also began reassessing their investment strategies. Japan Display Inc., or JDI, announced the suspension of their foldable screen project in 2022, citing market demand below expectations. Although South Korea's LG Display continued supplying foldable screen panels, they also significantly cut related R&D budgets. The entire industry seemed trapped in a dead end. But crucial technological breakthroughs were quietly happening at just this moment. "2023 marked a true watershed moment for the foldable phone industry. A series of key technological breakthroughs began rewriting the game rules. This wasn't gradual improvement, but a disruptive leap forward. Breakthroughs in material science proved most critical. Samsung successfully mass-produced their third-generation ultra-thin glass, or UTG, technology reducing thickness from the first generation's 50 micrometers to 30 micrometers while increasing impact resistance by 60%. The new material completely solved the crease problem that had plagued foldable screens for years. After 6 months of use, the Galaxy Z Fold 5's screen crease in the center was virtually invisible to the naked eye. The manufacturing revolution was equally stunning. Samsung's latest hinge used aerospace-grade aluminum alloy materials and a completely new gear transmission design, not only reducing overall thickness from the previous generation's 15.8mm to 13.4mm, but more importantly, completely solving the problem of dust and debris infiltration. Lab tests showed the new generation hinge could withstand over 200,000 folding operations, which, calculated at normal usage frequency, would support 4 to 5 years of use. Technological progress was directly reflected in sales data. Global foldable phone sales reached 23.9 million units in 2023, a 68% year-over-year increase and the largest growth since 2018. User satisfaction also improved significantly. Foldable phone user satisfaction reached 76 points out of 100 in 2023, approaching regular flagship phones' 78 points for the first time. Pricing strategy began loosening up. Samsung's Galaxy Z Flip 5 starting price dropped to $899 for the first time, $100 cheaper than the previous generation. Although Huawei faced external constraints, their Mate X5 series pricing in the Chinese market was still 15% lower than previous generations. Foldable phones were transitioning from luxury goods to consumer products. Software ecosystem achieved qualitative leaps. Google deeply optimized Android 14 specifically for foldable screens, introducing exclusive features like persistent taskbar, drag-and-drop split screen, and app continuity. Microsoft also announced full Office Suite compatibility with foldable screens, supporting simultaneous document editing and material viewing in large screen mode. By the end of 2023, over 500,000 apps in the Google Play Store were optimized for foldable screens, a 10-fold increase from 20. Changes in user behavior data deserved attention. Galaxy Z Fold 5 users' daily usage time was 37% higher than regular smartphone users, with multitasking frequency 2.8 times higher. Foldable phones were genuinely changing user habits, evolving from simple communication tools to productivity tools. Investment institutions' attitudes shifted 180 degrees. Goldman Sachs upgraded foldable phones' outlook to strong buy at the end of 2023, predicting the global foldable phone market would maintain over 50% annual growth from 2024 to 2026. Sequoia Capital consecutively invested in 3 foldable screen-related technology companies in the second half of 2023, with total investments exceeding $500 million. Supply chains also showed positive changes. Chinese panel manufacturers like BOE and Visionox achieved mass production of foldable screen panels in 2023, with capacity growing 300% compared to 2022. As capacity increased and yield rates improved, foldable screen panel costs dropped nearly 40%, creating conditions for terminal product price reductions. Technological breakthroughs injected new vitality into the industry, but the real game changer was still coming. A heavyweight player's entry plan was about to completely rewrite the entire industry landscape. In 2024, news that Apple planned to launch a foldable iPhone in 2026 sent shockwaves through the entire tech industry. This wasn't just a product launch announcement, but the beginning of an ultimate battle for the future of mobile computing. Apple's entry logic was completely different from all previous manufacturers. This foldable iPhone project, codenamed Project Unfold, would reportedly feature a 7.8-inch screen size with an inward folding design positioned between the iPhone Pro Max and iPad mini. The product would feature specially optimized M-series chips for foldable screens and a completely redesigned iOS system. Apple's strategy embodied their consistent late but better philosophy. While other manufacturers were still solving basic technical problems, Apple had already begun thinking about how to redefine the foldable phone user experience. Supply chain sources indicated that Apple's technical specifications with suppliers required foldable screens to support over 500,000 folding operations, screen brightness reaching over 1,000 nits. While maintaining thickness under 12, these technical specifications far exceeded any current market products. Deep AI integration was another highlight. Apple planned to debut dedicated AI processing units on foldable iPhones, supporting localized large model computing. Users could run complex AI applications in large screen mode, such as real-time image generation, intelligent document analysis, and multilingual simultaneous translation. This combination of AI and large screens was considered by industry insiders as the flagship product of the mobile AI era. Apple's foldable iPhone could potentially sell 20 million units in its first year, contributing approximately $400 billion in revenue. Apple's entry would drive explosive growth across the entire foldable phone market. By 2027, the global foldable phone market could reach $2 trillion, a tenfold increase from the current $200 billion. Historical data prove the reasonableness of these expectations. Apple has played the role of market educator in smartphones, tablets, and smartwatches. After the iPad launched in 2010, the global tablet market grew 20 times within 3 years. After the Apple Watch launched in 2015, smartwatches transformed from niche geek products into mainstream consumer goods. Supply chain changes became even more obvious. Apple's entry directly stimulated investment fever across the entire supply chain. LG Display announced a $3 billion investment to expand foldable screen production lines, while Samsung Display added $2.5 billion to increase capacity. Chinese companies like BOE and Visionox increased R&D investments, attempting to secure positions in Apple's supply chain. Apple faced triple challenges in technology, ecosystem, and market. How could they achieve mass production of foldable screens while maintaining Apple's consistent quality standards? How could they convince developers to redesign apps for foldable screens? How should they price a completely new product category? Apple's solutions reflected their deep technological capabilities and ecosystem control. In technology, Apple jointly developed completely new foldable screen manufacturing processes, with suppliers reportedly achieving yield rates above 85%. In ecosystem, Apple planned to launch dedicated development tools, helping developers quickly adapt foldable screen apps. In market, Apple might adopt a phased release strategy, first launching premium versions to validate the market, then introducing mainstream versions. Deep changes were occurring throughout the industry. Samsung, as the current absolute leader in the foldable phone market, already felt unprecedented pressure. Samsung's mobile business leader, Royole stated, "Apple's entry will completely change the game rules. We must establish sufficient technical and market barriers before 2026." Google announced the formation of a dedicated foldable device division and plans to launch a completely new Pixel Fold series in 2025. Although Huawei faces overseas market restrictions, their investments in the Chinese market are increasing, with plans to launch foldable phone products across more price segments. Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, and other brands all increased foldable phone investments in 2024, attempting to establish first-mover advantages before Apple's entry. Driven by 5G, AI, and cloud computing technologies, user expectations for mobile devices are undergoing fundamental changes. Traditional 6.7-inch phone screens can no longer satisfy complex AI applications, professional content creation, and efficient multitasking needs. Foldable phones provide a perfect solution, maintaining portability while offering large screen experiences. From $20 million to $2 trillion, this is the leap foldable phones could achieve within 8 years. On the surface, this is simply about making phone screens foldable. At a deeper level, this is a $100 billion gamble about the future of mobile computing. When Apple takes the stage in 2026 with their revolutionary foldable iPhone, we may discover that those devices, once mocked as expensive toys, are actually redefining how we interact with the digital world and opening the next golden decade of mobile internet.